Well, hello and welcome to Bowtie Life. I am Bowtie Dave, hence of the bow tie. And we're out here in the garden, out in the front garden. We're in the top two of the 5-tiered beds. Only the top two exist, but you'll notice, look what we have up. We have our arch trellis up. In fact, if I turn the camera up, you can see we're looking good here. It's very exciting because we got stuff going on. And it's a little bit of a chilly morning. It's a Saturday. What is this? March 18th. Our high today is around 60 something, low 60s. It's a little chilly. I've lived in Florida long enough now that I gotta wear a nice coat. So anyway, it's not too cold for onions though. It's not too cold for most things really. It's just a cool day. Now, a lot of my stuff that we're going to be planting today has been hardening off. Well, they've been hardening off for a month almost, most of it. But they were inside in the bay window, and they grew up to a sufficient amount. And you can see like onions like this right here. This is ready to go in the ground. This soil here, it is mostly horse bedding compost on top, and if I go down just a few inches, you can see we're getting down to real good fertile sandy soil. It's very sandy soil. We are in Destin, Florida. All our soil is nothing but sand, the whole city. So anyway, what I'm planning on doing is I'm going to be planting these onions. Hey, it's starting to rain again. I thought I could get out here and do this between. I'm not sure what that is growing up. That's the cotyledon leaves. I'm gonna stay out here for a little longer, see if we can survive this. But I'm gonna plant these onions right pretty close to the very edge here, because along this arch trellis here, I'm gonna be planting mammoth melting snow peas. And they will grow up pretty high on this trellis, if not all the way up. They will last until the weather gets hot, and at that point I'm going to plant beans on this trellis. And I'm also planting beans on the back trellis. We're going to have a lot of beans this year. We're a little excited about having access to a pressure canner. Plus we've got a lot of other people that we can give beans away to. So last year, some of you, if you followed along with the garden tours last year, we grew a lot of different kinds of beans, and we found my favorite bean of the 4 or 5 different kinds I grew. I think it was 5 different kinds. I can't remember for sure, but of the ones we grew, the stringless blue lake snow pea, no, not snow, the stringless blue lake pole beans were the ones that were good. We're gonna have to try some other beans too. There are good beans out there. The Blue Lake, it was a beautifully stringless variety. As long as you picked them early, if you waited too long, they did get a little tiny bit of stringiness to them. But everything else we had, none of it was stringless. Oh my goodness, it was like you get a mouthful of green beans, and it's like chewing on a mouthful of dental floss after a while. It was pretty funny. So if you didn't pull, you had to pull all the strings, and that was a bit of a pain. But anyway, so yeah, we're talking about these onions, and I don't even remember what kind of onions these are. I planted them out on video a few months ago, back in January, and this is March 18th. And so these here are actually ready to go out. They've been in cups for a while now. I have a feeling their roots are plenty big enough they can go in. I also feel pretty good about putting these cups in this soil, and the other bed of soil over there that we're going to be doing plugs that I grew from seed. So let's go ahead and see if I can space these out to kind of take over here. I also want to put in a couple of 1 or 2 what do I got, Genovese basil in here to go with these onions. Both Genovese basil and onions help with pests, and the snow peas that are growing here typically have problems with pests. So I'm putting these onions right along here and a few basil along here so that we hopefully don't have trouble with those pests on the snow peas, not the snow peas, the mammoth melting sugar, is it snow peas? Mammoth melting snow peas? I'm sorry. I'll try to remember. Anyway, it's written on the package when I go get it for the next little segment when I do that. But yeah, these onions will get planted here. They are great for controlling pests. I've got garlic, I got onions down over here. We've got hot peppers, we got, there is some basil over yonder that's growing. So we got a lot of stuff around to try to help with pests. I grow a very diverse garden. I don't line my aircraft up in one place so that they can be attacked easily. So we get things kind of all diversified amongst themselves so that hopefully we don't have trouble with pests. So anyway, I just thought I'd set the camera on a faster speed here and we'd set these out and plant them up. So follow along. And incidentally, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe because we're going to be having our garden tours coming up soon for the month of March. This is our 12th month of doing garden tours, and I'm so excited because next year I get to start having reference points, which means I can go back and remember what I did last year and hopefully start getting better at this. I'm still not great at it. I'm still learning, which is why I'm sharing it on YouTube, because hopefully you can feel like you can learn something too. It's important to always be learning things, and if you have an interest in gardening and growing your own food and developing at least some aspect of sustainability. We are here in the middle of Destin, in the heart of Destin, old Destin in fact, and we're trying to grow what we can and eat a little bit seasonally when we can too. But anyway, yeah. Please subscribe and don't miss any of our garden tours or any of the other videos we've got coming out right now. I know over the past week we've had 2 or 3 videos a day coming out. I am doing more shorts. I'm finding that the shorts have interesting content capability because you can get a very specific point out in a 60-second video. And I'm really enjoying those a lot here recently. But you'll probably be seeing more of those, but we still do the longer format videos that I have to edit, and unfortunately it takes a few days for those to get out because I have to edit them. It takes a little bit of time. So anyway, yeah, here we go. Hi, I'm Bowtie Dave. So I wanted to interject here real quick. I took the first one out. I forgot to show the roots of these on camera, but look at those roots. They're just starting to come out. They're getting ready to start crawling out into the ground. So this is like probably about a scooch immature for putting in the ground, but these things are ready Freddy. So I finished planting up that top bed with the onions, and I think I got 1, 2, 3, 4 basil in there. You see, I still have a few more basil. I have another tray up in the on the deck on the front patio up there. But I wanted to show you real quick about these onions, because this looks like a royal mess of onions, right? And I've been keeping these watered, and I've been keeping them fed. Yes, they smell like fish emulsion because they've had some fish emulsion recently. But you can see there are several in a single plug here, and if you kind of just work the plastic a little bit, and wish it had a push hole in the bottom, but you can see that they come out pretty easy. And the nice thing about onions, they're very forgiving. You can get them apart pretty easily, but if you can't, what you do, at least this is what I was told by an old hand at planting. He said, dip that root ball in water, and then you can kind of tease those things out. Now the challenge here is these have been growing a very long time together. And the reason why you don't want to have these things growing together this long is because of this right here. But look, see, I'm pulling, I can feel a few roots breaking, but look at there, it's coming out. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to plant the rest of this bed with whatever I get successfully pulled out of these. Now I've not done onions this way by dipping the ball of dirt in, but everything else I've done, it's worked pretty successfully, and you can see it comes apart pretty easy, and it hydrates the roots a little bit. But there's a lot of roots. Interestingly enough, you can actually see the bulbing ever so slightly starting right there in the end. I'm very excited. So I'll plant the rest of this row out with the last of these basil. There's 3 more sections of basil in here, and the rest of probably just this one cell because I don't have that much to plant out. But yeah, so here we go, going again. And now some of you know that I've talked about using this Stay Green soil that I got from my local Lowe's. I've tried a lot of different soils, and this stuff for me has seemed the most consistent. Just be aware that Stay Green has changed their bag this year to this new design. It's still the yellow bag and the blue bag, but they're both a little more stylized, a little fancier. So yeah, looking good. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to dig the same hole that I dug for all the other onions that already had soil on their roots. But this time I'm going to put some of this garden soil in, and then stick these little starts inside the soil, because I'm not feeling too good about the soil that's in this bed right now. It's just this horse bedding compost, and I'm gonna have to do something a little I need to give it a little more soil, a little more goody before I feel comfortable with it. So anyway, after this we'll plant some snow peas if we have time, if the rain stays away. I see some dark clouds up over there, but the clouds are going that way, and I see dark clouds there that we just got rained on a few minutes ago. There we go. So I got all the onions planted, I got the rest of the basil planted. In fact, you can see them kind of right down this row right here. In fact, the last basil was planted right here on the end. And everywhere I use my, everywhere I use the Stay Green potting soil, I supplemented with the Dr. Earth's fertilizer, organic fertilizer. And also, so now I'm planting the snow peas. In fact, I stopped right there and realized I didn't have the camera running. All that is planted just like this. I dug a trough. You see there's actually cardboard down here. In fact, let me turn the camera down. You can see that's cardboard that I put down. Interestingly enough, now this cardboard hadn't been here a full month, but look how tender this double wall cardboard is. It's very broken up. It's already attracting worms into that layer all the way down the bed. But I dug on this side, which has the cardboard, I dug a trench. I'm going to be putting in some of the Stay Green potting soil, about that much, not a whole lot. I'm just trying to give the peas something to grow into as they're getting ready to grow into this stuff that's a little bit underdeveloped, but it'll also grow down and through that cardboard and into the soil below, which actually has some richness to it. But on top of this, I'm putting on some of my own compost. In fact, let me go and get that. I forgot. I'm not putting a lot of this in, but this really rich compost that I made myself. And what I'll be doing is putting seeds on here. I just don't seem ready to record this segment, do I? Put the seeds in here just every once in a while. And incidentally, these are seeds from my own harvest that were planted last year in this same general location. But I'm using the guides here, using these verticals as kind of a guide, and I'm planting them a little more often than these in the plan that some of these that I harvested from my own stuff may not germinate. And so I'm planting them a little bit more. See, like that's not even a good looking seed right there. So planting them a little more frequent than the vertical pieces here. And once I do that, I'm just taking a little bit of my compost, sprinkling it on top till it's just barely covered. And this is rich stuff. This has a lot of worm castings in it. I can tell by the feel of it. This is super turned processed compost. You can see I just barely covered those, and then I'm going to take this stuff and put back over it. And that puts it about 1 inch or 2 under the surface, which is going to be just about right. So hopefully, certainly not by the March garden tour, which is going to be recorded, well, I don't know, they might germinate in a week. We'll have to see. Wouldn't that be an exciting thing to see? Now, this side has the cardboard on it. In fact, you can see this is the cardboard. It's double thickness cardboard that I get from Lowe's. And folks, if you want some really good cardboard, make friends with the fellow that runs shipping at Lowe's, and they may collect you some of this heavy stuff. There's no print on it. It's not folded, no tape. It's pure stuff, and they may be able to collect you some. I'm friends with the fella at our Lowe's, and he looks out for me and always holds some of this stuff anyway, but holds a little extra for me in case I ever need it. I got a big old stack of it right now. But so I want to show you the other side now. The other side, reason why I show the cardboard is because on the other side, there's no cardboard. It's straight down to sand. The real rich, in fact, you can see here, this sand is pretty rich looking. I am really pleased with how it came out. This was a bed last year. Over here on this side was not a bed. It's actually just outside of what was the bed last year. But I did the same thing. I did a trough, and I'm going to put some of this soil with a little bit of the doctor's earth in it. I don't think it's going to be as necessary on this side, but then I'm going to go all the way down and place these seeds the same distance, a little more frequently than the vertical pieces here on the cattle panel. Some of these seeds don't look that great. And then on top of that, whoop, doggone it, throwing my seeds everywhere. On top of that, I'm going to put some of this compost, just enough to bury them a little bit. And that'll give them a little bit of food. And then I'm just going to cover it back over. Just like that. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of this 17-foot row. You can see here, that's the rest of the row right there that I have to finish. So I'm going to get all that done, and maybe we'll be done planting for the day. It'd be really cool if we could have results from this in a week. Some of these little sugar snap peas popping up. How cool would that be? All right. And there you have it, 2 beds all planted out, 2 17-foot beds planted out. We got on the outside over here, we got onions and basil. We got snow peas on the arch trellis. You'll notice that arch trellis is pretty high up, and I like what the way Scott Head says it best. Those peas are going to find that. They're going to get there. In fact, they'll get there pretty quick once they start germinating. But on this side over here, we have again, it's Mammoth melting sugar snow pea is what it is. And then we have Texas grano onions and Genovese basil on occasion out here. One there, and then almost see it down there on the very end, right next to the post. On the other side of the post there, you can see one. But yeah, so that's the project for the day. Not sure I'm going to get anything else done. It's kind of getting dark and cloudy. It's not supposed to really rain, but it's a little chilly out here, and I'm getting toasty and sniffly. So I did get the compost, my good compost on everything, and 35 onions planted. I don't know how many snow pea seeds I planted, but I did plant all of the ones that I harvested last year, plus all the ones that I bought last year. I have another package that I did buy this year in case I needed them, but I didn't have to open it, so I'm not going to open it. I put it back in the Ziploc bag that I put my Mammoth melting sugar snow peas into, and I will leave it there until I need it. These things will grow. It is the end of March. They will be ready to harvest here in under 60 days. It says 60 days, but last year it only took about 45 days before we started getting harvest off of them. But by then, it'll be the end of May, middle of May actually, and by then we will be in good growing weather. It'll be warm, hopefully not too warm. Last year we got really warm in June, so hopefully I'll have a month to harvest, and we'll get a lot frozen and even get some given away if I get as many as I hope on these two 17-foot sides of this arch trellis. And you can see here, there's the arch. You can see just this side of the Pendo date palm. But anyway, if you've already subscribed, and see, yeah, if you're just stumbling along and finding us, first off, I am ADD positive. I have been diagnosed. I spent 26 years on the max adult recommended dosage for Ritalin. I haven't been on it in a few years. I'm using natural methods now, but I get my words stumble occasionally. But if you're just coming along and discovering us, please subscribe, because we're going to have garden tour here starting in a week for March. I do this every month for the past year, and I'm hoping to continue it for another year or two at least. But we'll talk about how these things grow and the experiments that I'm doing. This is an experiment. How I grew these, how I put them in the ground with the layers is an experiment. And we'll have to see how that goes. So, but yeah, and all this is my personal log, and you're happy to travel along with me and see what happens and see how successful it is, or how much of a failure, because I do have failures in here too. So it happens, but lots going on in the garden, and this is just something else that's happening. If you watch my channel and you subscribe, you'll see we come out with a lot of short. There's just a ton of tiny things that happen, and that's what those shorts are. And so stay subscribed, and those of you who already have subscribed and are still watching, I thank you so much for watching. It does help the channel, both subscribing and watching. And if you found this at all entertaining, educational, or informational, then please click the thumbs up on this video and share on your social media, because all of that helps grow the channel and grow the community and help us to develop into an ever-growing part of the overall community, because it's bigger than just me. It's so many other developers and content creators out there that are doing the same thing, experiments, or sharing their experience and helping you to grow things for yourself, and to become maybe that just a little bit more self-sustaining. Where you don't have to worry about going to the store quite as often for produce, because there is so much you can grow in your own garden, no matter where you live. And whether it's an indoor garden, an outdoor garden, or whatever, containers, we grow in containers. In fact, you can see right down the end there, that should be, I think that's chocolate mint down there. Yeah, that's chocolate mint in that grow bag down there. But watch the garden tours, because we have a lot of growing containers around the garden that I use. That's how I started, and that's how I still do it. So anyway, all that being said, another project down, and we're coming down to the end of this video. And so hope maybe you got an idea of a way to do something that you hadn't thought of before, or maybe you think of something that you've done that's better than what I did. Tell me in the comments, because I want to hear it. I need to know. This is my 4th year of successful gardening, and I'm still learning. And so I'm more than happy to hear your recommendations. That's things that you've done that you have found successful. We are in Destin, Florida, so we're a pretty warm climate. We're about to have just below 40 degrees tomorrow morning, and it's going to be wonderful for these onions. They're going to say, oh yeah, stretching out, getting into that tough weather, and then they're suddenly going to have this beautiful weather, because we're set up for a while of good weather after that. We are already well past our average last frost date, so we're happy to be looking for whatever's next in the garden. So I do have a couple of surprises coming up. I got something from a neighbor that I'm going to try another experiment in, and we'll see how it goes. Mrs. Bowtie said, I don't want that in my front yard, so I'm going to do it in the backyard garden first, and I have a feeling it's going to look really good. And she's going to say next year she wants it in the front yard somewhere. But yeah, stay tuned, watch the videos, subscribe, click thumbs up, share with your friends, and all that being said, you know what I'm going to say. Have a blessed day.